Hello everyone, I'm going to share with you this creamy sausage and kale pasta. This is a one-pot meal. I love it because it's so versatile. You can definitely tweak it to make it your own. Now for this one pot meal, it's definitely a lot of kitchen staples that we're going to be using. One is going to be onion. I'm using a brown onion, but you can also use a yellow onion, but not a sweet onion, either a yellow onion or a brown onion that's not a sweet onion. I'm going to be chopping up a half of an onion. Now, in the background, you may hear a rooster. My neighbor has a rooster. Yeah, I don't even know why, but my neighbor, well, I know why, but my neighbor has a rooster, so you may be hearing that a little bit in the background. So anyway, with the onion, I went on and I chopped up the onion. I'm going to end up with about 1 cup to about 1.5 cups of chopped onion that I've gone on and diced up. And with the onion, you want it about this size. I have some small pieces, some big pieces, but no bigger than, say, like a dime. Now, I also have 2 garlic cloves. If your garlic cloves are on the small side, then you want to use 3. But these are 2 very nice size garlic. They're about 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches, my garlic. So I'm going to dice up the garlic. Now, if you are new to my channel, I want to welcome you in. And if you return, I want to thank you for coming back. My name is Dyvonne, and on my channel, I love to share what I cook and bake for my family in my kitchen. I may share a story here and there about different recipes that I've gotten from family members and different ways that we have used them. And I also have some kale here. This is actually some kale from my garden. And I grow this dwarf kale is the seeds that I planted. And they just have been booming. I have a wonderful crop of kale. And so I like to use that in the recipes anytime I can. And when I'm with kale, whether you're growing your own or you get it from the grocery store, the most important thing is you see how I'm taking my thumb over the leaves. You definitely want to do that and run it under some water to make sure that you get all the dirt and anything that may have clinged to the leaves. Now, when it comes to the sausage, I'm using sweet sausage. Usually it'll say sweet sausage or it'll just say Italian sausage. Another sausage you can also use is the spicy Italian sausage if you want a bigger kick. Now for me, I like to take the casing off of my sausage. That's optional, so it's going to be your personal preference. I like to take that casing off because I find that the sausage can be a little bit more tender. It becomes more tender once that casing is off of the sausage. But again, that's personal preference. I'm using 1 pound of sausage. Now this meal is enough for about 3 to 4 people. If you want to cook more than that, you would just go ahead and double the recipe. Now tonight, I'm cooking for 3. And if you're cooking for 1 to 2 people, it makes great leftovers. And I'll give you a tip about how to store and warm up your leftovers. Now for the sausage, I went on and I had cut them with my kitchen shears to smaller pieces, so that way it's going to be easier as they continue to cook. Now once I put them into my pot, I also add in a little bit of olive oil, and that was about a teaspoon, 1 to 2 teaspoons of olive oil. That's just going to help to get the sausage kind of going in the pot. Now I have my pot on a medium heat because I want my sausage to cook, but I don't want it to burn because I don't want that scorched taste in my dish, and so I'm mindful not to have my fire up too high under my pot. Now once my sausage is almost done, it's about maybe 70-80% done, then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add in my chopped onion, and I'm just adding in the chopped onion right now so that the onion can get nice and soft and continue to cook as the sausage continues to cook. I'm not going to add in the garlic just yet because garlic is only going to take about a minute to maybe 1.5 minutes to cook, kind of depending on the dish that you're cooking, but garlic doesn't take very long, and so I'm not going to put the garlic in just yet. I'm just going to put the onion in so it can saute, get nice and soft, and it's going to become a little translucent. This is going to take anywhere from about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to keep my flame on that same medium because I want the onion to get soft, but I don't want my onion to brown up. I just want it to become nice and soft. And also I want in the center of my sausage piece going to cook and no longer be pink in the center of my sausage. So everything is looking good. It is definitely smelling good. You can smell those spices that are already in that nice Italian sausage. And I'm using pork Italian sausage, but you can also use a turkey Italian sausage. Now, once my onion are nice and soft, I go ahead and I add in the garlic. I'm going to mix and saute everything together, mix everything around, and this is going to take me anywhere from about 1 to 2 minutes. We just want to kind of soften up that garlic and just let it become very aromatic. That usually takes a couple of minutes. And now you will develop some fond in the bottom of your pot, and that's going to give a lot of flavor to our dish, but you just want to be mindful you don't have a lot of burnt pieces. I like to add a little crushed red pepper flakes, just a couple of pinches, and that's optional. You can leave it out if you like, but just for like a little bit of a kick, I like to add just like a pinch or two of some of that crushed red pepper flakes. And I like to add that in after I add in the garlic. And if you notice, besides the crushed red pepper flakes, I haven't added any seasoning because the sauce is going to give off a lot of flavor itself. And so as far as adding salt or pepper, I do that at the end only if it's necessary, depending on what broth that I'm using, okay? So here I'm using some chicken broth. You can also use some chicken stock. If you want to use low sodium chicken broth or chicken stock, you can do that as well. I'm going to use the whole carton, which is 1 quart, which is the equivalent of 32 ounces. So we're using the whole 1 quart of the chicken broth. You can also use chicken stock like I mentioned, as well as the low sodium that I mentioned. So once I add that in, then I'm also going to be adding in some water, and this is 1 cup of water. So you want to use the chicken broth as well as 1 cup of water. Once I have added in the water and the broth, I like to give it a nice stir and lift up any bits of the fond from the bottom, and that's going to really help to flavor our pasta. And so I just lift up any of that little bit of that fond that's there. Now we're going to go ahead and let this come to a boil. So I'm going to let this come to a boil. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the top on my pot. Now this is the only time that I actually turn my fire up a little bit more. And so I have it more so now on a high heat, so that way it can really come up to a nice boil. So once it's at a nice rolling boil, we're going to add in 1 cup of pasta. Now this is where you can kind of tweak it. You can add rigatoni, like a small rigatoni pasta. You can add the small shell pasta, the shell pasta, but the ones that stay small, not the ones that get really big. You can add that. The pasta that I'm using for this dish is the Ditalini. So I'm using the Ditalini pasta, and it's 1 cup, 1 dry cup that I added. So once I've mixed the Ditalini pasta into the dish, I'm going to put the top on because we want our pasta to go ahead and cook. And so it's going to go ahead, come to a nice rolling boil again. And that's going to take about maybe 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes, kind of depending on your pot, but about 10 minutes, around 10 minutes. So once my pasta has gone and boiled, and you see also as the pasta boils, it absorbs a lot of that liquid, and it'll continue to absorb the liquid. And when we put our other liquid in, which is going to be our heavy cream, it'll continue to thicken up. And so our pasta is looking good. It's a little bit right there at that al dente stage. And so once my pasta is looking like this, I'm going to go ahead and give it a try to see how tender my pasta is. Because I don't want to overcook it, it'll continue to cook in our hot broth, and it's going to boil still a little bit more. So once it's right there at that al dente stage, then I add in my kale. Now, when it comes to the kale, you can use as much kale or as little kale as you like. It's kind of really your preference. For me, I grow the kale in the garden, so I want to use as much as possible. And so I'm going to be using, this is about 2 to 3 cups, about 2 to 3 cups that I'm going to be putting in of my kale. And I put this in, this is basically towards the end of our cooking process. We still haven't put the heavy cream in yet, and I'll share with you more about the heavy cream. So with the heavy cream, I'm using 1 cup of heavy cream. Now, the 1 cup of heavy cream is going to make this dish very rich. Now, if you want it to be a little less creamy and a little less rich, you can use a half a cup. Now, in the beginning, when you're making this recipe, start off with a half a cup and taste it and see how you like it. If you want it a little bit more rich, a richer flavor, more creamier, you can go ahead and add just like a little bit at a time, but 1 cup is usually the max that I would add for this dish. Another important tip is when you add your heavy cream, turn off the flame on your pot. Turn off the heat on your pot. The reason why you want to turn it off is that if the pot is at like a rolling boil or if it's really hot, when you add the cream, it can tend to curdle. And so it's important that you do turn off your heat source underneath your pot, then add your cream, and then turn your heat source back on, but you want to have it on a low to a medium low, because we're just going to gently simmer it, and we don't want the cream to separate. And so making sure that you add it at the end with the heat source off, then turn your heat source back on and have it on like a low or a medium low. And so this is what our pasta is looking like. It's going to continue to thicken up. So our dish will continue to thicken up as it cools. Now this is some nice, wonderful sourdough that I made homemade. My homemade sourdough right here that I made to go with our dish. And so I'm going to cut some pieces for my family so we can go ahead and everyone's going to enjoy it. So this is our pasta. It is looking good. I'm going to give y'all the first bite. You are guests here in my kitchen, so I'm going to let y'all have the first bite. And also, I like to put a little bit of shredded Parmesan cheese, and it's also optional, but I like it as a nice little garnish. And so I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of this Parmesan cheese right here on top. Now, also for the dish, if you're going to have leftovers, and maybe you're just making it for you and one other person, you're going to have a little leftovers. Whether you freeze your leftovers or you have it in the fridge for a couple days, you want to warm your leftovers on low so that way your cream doesn't separate. Well, this bite's for you. Go ahead and take your bite. I'm going to take my bite. This has come out so good. It is so comforting. It is creamy. It is just a bunch of deliciousness, let me tell you. And it goes perfect with either crusty bread or some nice sourdough, a nice baguette. It goes really well. In the description box below, I'll share with you a list of ingredients that I used, as well as at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you a visual of all the ingredients that I used to make this dish. Now, if you enjoyed spending time with me in my kitchen, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video and appreciate the content, don't forget to show it some love, give it a thumbs up, and click share. Share this video with a friend or a family. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you can come back and visit me again in my kitchen. And these are the ingredients that I used. I used the sausage, the garlic, the onion, the red pepper flakes, the pasta, the chicken broth, olive oil, the heavy cream, and my kale. Well, that is it for me today. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.